Good morning and welcome back. Today we are out and we are going to be doing bass, hopefully 3 different ways. That's the plan. I've left it a bit late to come out. It was 9:30 in the lock. It was a breezy, windy morning. About 5 o'clock this morning there was about 23 knots of wind northerly, and experience tells me that's not nice far off. The little boy in me wanted to get out at R4. The experienced man told me just to wait and not rush. So we're out now, we're collecting some, hopefully collecting some pouts, and we've got a load of prawns that we collected last night, and there's going to be a little video on that if you haven't already seen it. And the plan today is to do some live baiting, hopefully some trolling, and then a bit of bass on the float, which is my favourite way to catch them. Now the last two are very much dependent on the clarity, because if we haven't got the clarity, if we haven't got the clarity, the trolling and the float fishing, it's just not going to work. So fingers crossed, that's what we're going to try and do. Whether or not it works, I don't know. So all I've got to do is a bit of a set of baited sabikis, just try and catch some pout, and hopefully we can do that, and then we can get fishing. What I'm doing is the reef didn't seem to have many baits on it, and the tide's turn was shifting. I've just come to a little wreck. Most wrecks have normally got pout on them, so same thing, baited sabikis. Just going to drop down, see if we can't get the live baits I want off the wrecks. I'm going straight into the wreck. Normally there's quite a few pout on the wrecks. Like that, see? There we go, straight in. And what we want the smaller ones really. We don't want them big granddaddy ones, we want them nice small live bait sized ones. I'm probably going to need about 8 or 9 for what I want to do. But hopefully this is pout, it feels like it. And it's of the right size. Let's have a look. Yeah, that'll do. There we go. Pout. A little bit big really, but I'll take it. Oh, I'll go around again. Yeah, so there you go. Little top tip for you. If you can't get baits on your reef, get them on a wreck. There we go. Another 2 really good baits. That bottom one is lovely. That one's off. That bottom one is lovely size. Perfect. Perfect live bait, that one. Right, last go for pouts. We've got 6 or 7 in there now. They're not looking too healthy already. Pouts tend to die really quick. Ideally I'd like little scads, but they're not about at the minute here. But yeah, dead baits, they work just as well. There's the bottom. The whirring you might be able to hear on camera is just my aerator pump for the prawns and the pouts. If you don't keep them oxygenated, they just die they just suffocate. They say be ambitious with your live baits, but that's a bit ambitious even by my standards. Yep, fish on guys, fish on. First drop. First drop. Live pout. Live pout guys. Might come off. Oh, no, still there. Still there. One Coxswain rule, 4 Omutsu circle, live pout, bang, first go round on the ledges, beachy head ledges, surrounded by commercials. I just sat off, there were 3 coming round for another drift. I just sat off, saw where the drift line was, waited for them to set up, and then went up tight of them, dropped in, boom, first go down. And that is first go. that's all the rig is. It's just a 3-way swivel and then a length of fluoro to a 4.0 Mutsu circle. Like I said, live pout, easy. That's all it is, just a pout lip hooked through the top lip. Like I said, 4.0 circle hook, so you haven't got a strike, it just sets itself, and that's it. And these pouts are not particularly lively now. You can't see it. I mean, there's about 10 boats around me now. It's a really popular mark, this ledges. And like you saw there, first go, bang, bass, couple of pound, these are right. Down to the bottom. Once it hits the bottom, 8 to 10 turns up. You can hold the rod or you can put it in the rest, and you can fish 2 rods if you want, it's up to you. That's on the bottom. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's it, just off the bottom. In the holder, wait for a bite. Quite fast and furious because we're drifting through 1.9 knots, and all this is an underwater ledge, so a big drop off. As you come up it on the ebb tide here, you come up it, you get your bass, or you don't, and you loop round again. And I'm already at the end of it by the looks of it. Just a quick one here on etiquette on leaving and exiting a mark. Obviously we're going round and round in circles here, essentially, is what we're doing, but you don't want to be driving back over the mark, especially if that mark is shallow. And one thing commercials will pull you up on, they will scream and shout at you for good reason, is if you drive all over the mark and spook the bass. So just coming out here, I've done this a couple of times now, obviously this particular day. I've got a track line on my plotter which shows me where I need to be going. Obviously I'm experienced enough to be able to do it by sight. But if you're not, have a track mark on, follow the commercials if you're unsure, follow their track line round, and then they can't then pull you up for going over the mark because you're going over the same lines that they've been on before. So just exiting the mark here, coming out south, round, going a straight line. Obviously the mark is inside of me here towards the cliffs. So give it a nice wide berth, go round, and then just reset your drift. Try not to bump into any boats on the way round. Nice and easy, but just a bit of etiquette here for shallow water fishing marks. Well, that was bass on live baits. First drop down at Beachyard Ledges, we had that bass, and I'll show you him in just a second. But first drop down, bang. I've done maybe 7 or 8 more drifts, and not a sniff. And I haven't seen any landing nets come over from the other guys either. So we're surrounded by 7 or 8 commercials and a couple of recreationals. I didn't see any other landing nets come over, so I think it's just gone a bit quiet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slip inside, get right in close, and I'm going to rig up some trolling. So trolling, for those that don't know, is towing lures basically. So what I'm going to do, I've got a couple of deep diving lures. So I've got some Rapalas, double jointed ones. You put them out way behind the boat. I set autopilot and I go about 2.5, 3 knots in a straight line up under the coast. The lures dive down, and when a bass hits it, the rod just hoops over, and obviously you bring it in. Couple of things to think about when trolling lures is have your drag set, because if you get a take or you snag up, if you don't have your drag set, 2 things will happen. 1, you'll either pull the hooks out of the fish, or 2, you'll snag up, it'll bend over, and if the hook doesn't pull out of the snag, you will snap your rod if you're not quick enough to get it out. So have your drag set. You'll know if it's working because the action of the lure will make the rods go like that. And if you get a take, it will just go over. Just knock it out of gear so you've got no power going forward. Come out the wheelhouse, pick the rod up, and yeah, bring your fish in. That's the plan. It all depends now how murky it is inside there as to how well this is going to work. Some days it's deadly, and other days you don't get nothing. So we're going to nip inside now and have a go. Right, so I'm at autopilot. It's just there. I'm perfectly safe. I'm looking ahead of me at all times, and I've got a clear field of view. We're currently in 36 foot of water. I should probably be a bit closer, really. But hopefully you can see the tips are bouncing like that. Both drags are on, and the tips are wobbling because that's the action of the lure. If they were just static or bent over, chances are the lure could be hung up, or you're not going fast enough to get the action. And I'll just show you the tips now so you know what I mean. Well, that was trolling for bass. There's the first lure. It's just a Rapala Bloodhead, really classic lure, double jointed. And then on the other one, it was just a mega bass zonk. And both of these have got wiggly actions. They dive down. Faster you go, harder you retrieve, the further they go down. Each one has a certain depth it will go to. I'm not sure the exact specifications, but generally, the bigger the plastic lip on the front, the further it will go down. But that's it, we're gonna have a go on the float now. My favourite way to catch bass. We've come to a little reef, we've got some live prawns, and we're gonna give it a go and see what we can do. But that was number 2 way to catch bass. It does work. The water's still a bit green in here, so that's probably not gonna help. But we'll have another go later on the way home. Other than that, let's see if we can get some on the float now. Well, before I go to the mark and start getting baits in the water, I'll quickly talk to you about it. It's pretty simple. It's just a 56 gram C-Tech float with a bead on the top. And I've also got a rubber stop knot bead further down, or further up the line, sorry, which you adjust to set your depth. And then we've got simply another bead at the bottom, and that goes to a swivel with a little tiny ball lead, and then another swivel, so locked in between those 2 swivels basically. And then we've got a little knot protector there, just to, every time you cast it out, if that lead is slamming into your knots and you haven't got any form of protection, it's not going to take long to lose that. A length of 20 pound fluorocarbon down to a 4.0 Cox and Royal Mutsu circle, and then we're going to be using prawn and pout as bait. Flick it away from the boat. We're currently ebbing still, and then the boat will travel faster than the float wheel. And then all you do is just wait for that float to go down. Lovely way to catch bass, this. I love it. I did it a little while back. I didn't do any last year, and I said I would do a bit more this year. So method number 3 today, catching bass inshore. Let's have a go on this float. Okay, baits wise, I've got a few dead pouts now, but I'm going to stick on a lovely big prawn. All you do, take your circle. They've got black segments on their tails. About the 2nd segment in, just push it through, come out the other side, and then there is your bait. That is it. And then all you do is just drop it down the tide, flick it over. Don't need to cast it or anything. And that's it, just let it go. So you set your float to the shallowest part of the reef. And what I mean by that is, if you've got a reef that goes 40 foot and 20 foot deep in places, you set it to 20 foot. Because otherwise, if you set it to the 40 foot, when you come up into that shallow bit, your bait's just going to drag through that reef and you're going to lose your gear. So all I'm doing now is letting that trot away, and that's trotting away quite fast, that. Just leave that in the rod holder with the bail arm open as that trots away. And obviously when it goes, flip the bail arm over, strike it, that is it. I think I might have just had my first experience of a seal taking a bait / fish. I've got a dead bait pout down, just straight up and down the side of the boat now. The float's trotting out doing what it's doing on prawn. And a seal popped up at the back of me earlier with a lovely bass in its mouth. And I've just had a bang, bang, slam over on the rod. And I've lifted into it, and the seal's popped up right next to the boat. And in fact, he's just over here now. I'll see if I can get him. But I think that seal had a quick tug on my bait there. Where is he? Yeah, I'll just show him to you, hang on. There he is, look, I don't know if you can make him out in there. Yeah, hello, I see you. Yeah, bye-bye. So the float's just got a bit far away from me now, so I'm just going to reset it. I'll show you what I'm doing. I love this way of fishing. It's not being particularly productive today because I think of the colour of the water. I'll just show you. Just a Penn Battle Free reel, 20-60 gram a Humahelios rod. All I'm going to do is just get it here. The float travels faster than the boat normally, so I'm just going to flick it away from me there. So it's at the back of me now, behind me. By the time it all sinks, it'll be level, and I'm just leaving the bail arm off, put it in the rod holder, and then the line can just peel away. And obviously if you get a bite, the float's either going to sink or you're going to watch it skirt along. It's just coming back level with me now. Well, I don't know how well you will see this, but the bail arm is off, and that float is just now trotting away. And when it gets out of eyesight, probably out, you know, a little way away out there on the tide, you just reset it and bring it in again. Normally if the fishing's on, you've got one straight away, they're good, they're bang on. But that's what we're doing. Now when you're float fishing, you get a couple of different sort of bites. Now normally the float will just sail away and you'll be like, where's the float? And it'll dawn on you that it's gone under, and you'll strike and you'll hook into a fish. Or what will happen is you'll go, where's the float? And you'll strike and it'll pop up completely out of your vision somewhere because you've just lost track of where it was. That's normally how it goes. But the other thing you might get is a fish will pick up the bait and it'll swim up in the water and the float might go sideways, or you might start seeing it go like that. Yeah, tracking across the water. In any case, just wind down to it, strike. If in doubt, just strike. I do love float fishing, but I've been going now for a fair while now, and this water is still a bit green in here. I'm getting a bit of mayrot on the line, and I can see it coming through on the sounder, sort of mid-water and near the bottom of the water column. So it's still probably a week or two away from being all go on this, I think. Not that I'm making excuses, but it's just how it's gone today. Normally I would have expected to do something in here. We've also got a lot of pleasure boats cutting about today. I've had 4 or 5 boats bomb inside the reef, all over it. So not ideal scenarios it seems today. But never mind, you've seen how to do it anyway. And then in a minute I'm going to troll back towards home, and we might pick something up on that. But that's 3 ways today that I catch bass inside. Live baiting on the float with live baits or prawns, and then the trolling. All of those, when it's clear water, nice and calm up inside, all 3 of those will catch you a lot of bass, and you can do all 3 of them. Certainly where we are down here at Eastbourne, you can do all 3 of those in one session quite comfortably, and even add top waters or casting lures into that as well for 4 or 5 different ways to catch your bass. But the conditions have to be right, and we haven't quite got it today, but hopefully you've learned something. Any questions about it all, put it down below. I'll answer them as best I can. Well, that mayrot is just too bad inside here. It's coming up clogged up all over the lines. It's just not viable for try and do what we are trying to do today, which is a shame, because it would have been great to try and show you catching a bass, trolling and on the float. It's some of my favourite methods to catch a bass, but unfortunately it's coming up snotty all over the lines. We've got a seal in here as well popping up next to the boat, and we've got sightseeing boats on it's Sunday today, and they are bombing in and out all over the reef. Not the best day to do this. It's only 1:30, but I'm out tomorrow again, so I'm going to get home now and get a bit of dinner and a nice relaxing evening. I'm not going to try and flog a dead horse. It's too green, it's too mayrotty, it ain't going to work. However, rocky areas like this, especially if you're local up under Seven Sisters and even the other way going towards Bexhill, trolling and floating for bass and live baits, it's a really deadly method. So if you have any questions on it, and there's also videos of me doing those methods in previous months and years, go check them out. If not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.